It's Ryan Seacrest here. People always say it's good to unwind, but that's easier said than done. The exception, Chumba Casino. They actually make it easier done than said, or at least the same. Chumba Casino is an online social casino with hundreds of casino-style games like slots and blackjack. Play for fun. Play for free for your chance to redeem some serious prizes. Sign up now and collect your free welcome bonus at ChumbaCasino.com. Sponsored by Chumba Casino. No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 18 plus terms and conditions apply.
Good evening. Welcome to WSBI, your Resource for Success podcast program, where you get to meet inspiring women-owned businesses from across the country. And now, for your host, Kimberly McLemore.
All right, good evening and welcome to WSBI, your Resource for Success podcast program, where you get to meet inspiring entrepreneurs and women-owned businesses from across the country. I am your host, Kimberly McLemore, President and CEO of the Women's Small Business Initiative, LLC, and an award-winning author. And welcome to another night of sharing. With us, we have special guest Bron Williams. Bron Williams is a powerful woman dedicated to helping other women reconnect with their own power. Despite her achievements, including honors degrees, serving as school principal, being an ordained minister, and having experience working with asylum seekers, Bron once struggled to tap into her full potential because of the expectations of family and society. Through her own journey, she has come to understand the importance of knowing one's values and needs and being clear about them. By guiding women to understand their own drivers, needs, and values, Bron helps women reconnect with their own power so they can confidently negotiate their salaries and pursue leadership positions unapologetically, celebrating their achievements along the way. So without further ado, please help me welcome to my platform, Bron Williams. Hey, Bron, how are you?
I'm really well, Kimberly. Thank you so much for having me as your guest.
Well, I'm excited to have you on, and I'm glad, like I said, we finally got connected. It's been a while. It's been a couple of times I've tried to get this thing going here with you, so I'm so happy that we're finally here together in 23. I know it's probably a year since the last time that I was trying to connect with you. Things always in the way and busy, but we're here now, and I'm excited to learn more about you. I'm excited about what you're doing with women, and there's always a great story to tell. But before we dive down that path, Bron, why don't you tell everybody a little bit more about who Bron Williams really is?
What a good question. Well, as you can tell from my accent, I don't live in the USA. I'm an Aussie. So I live in Melbourne, so on the bottom end of Australia. I have I've lived for quite a number of decades, which means I've got quite a story to tell. But if I did it in a nutshell, I'm in my third act. My first act, I was a trained teacher and taught many, many different grades, children with special needs, ended my teaching career as a school principal. Then midlife, as so often happens, things occur that upset your carefully laid plans, and I divorced and took I don't know how many degree turn and joined the Salvation Army and became an ordained minister with them. Did a lot of interesting things, including working with asylum seekers on Nauru. And then at the ripe old age of 60, I figured it was time for me to really pursue the things that were in my heart. And so for the last 7 years, I have been pursuing my own speaking, consulting and mentoring business and working with women to plug them into their power.
Wow. I love that. I love the three themes there. I mean, hey, here you are on part 3. So that's phenomenal. I love the fact that you have been able to learn how to elevate yourself and realize the changes that you had to make throughout the years. And we'll dive into that here in a second, because I think a lot of times that, when people hear about when they start to come to a certain age or do certain things, they think that they're getting too old or they can't do this or can't do that. I'm right behind you. I'm in that mid 50s, so I truly understand that you have these certain, and I love how you put it, act 3. So you're part 3 of your life. And a lot of times people just don't understand how important it is to realize that it's not about the age, it's about the growth. and understanding and recognizing that change is inevitable. So talk a little bit more about your story as a teacher and how, you've evolved throughout the years, getting to this point, because it's obviously been, yes, a journey, and you did it in a quick second, but, kind of dive into some of the things that you've learned along the way to get to today.
Sure. Well, when I was 8, I decided I wanted to be a teacher. But it's only been in the last couple of years that I've realised what one of the drivers might have been. Now, I grew up in a very conservative Christian environment where I was safe and well loved, but that came with a certain number of quite strict boundaries around what women should or could do. And I didn't see women in any positions of authority except in the school. It was there that I saw women who were teachers and who were school principals. But of course, at 8, I didn't have the cognitive ability to connect those dots. And as I said, it's only been the last couple of years that I realised, okay, little Bronwyn, who has always been a leader, was looking for other females who were also leaders, and she found them in the teaching profession. And I do believe that that's one of my own drivers for moving into that, as well as the fact that I do have a natural gift for teaching. Mm-hmm. And so I trained as a teacher when I left high school. And as so often, I think for women of my generation, taught for a couple of years, then stopped to have my family and did a whole lot of casual and part-time teaching. And I did that for 15 years while my 2 older sons were little. And when my 3rd son started school, I had the opportunity to take on a full-time teaching role, but this time it was in a multi-grade classroom. So all of those years of teaching a variety of grades, you turn up at a school and they say you've got 4th grade today, and you turn up at another school and they say you've got 6th grade today. Mm-hmm. So getting all that experience of teaching, one day after the next in different grades stood me in really good stead when I was teaching kinder or prep through to year 6 all in the one room, and I could see this beautiful stretch of how children learned from when they're 5 or 6 through to when they're 12, and seeing that the things that I was teaching the 12-year-old, I was also teaching the child who's only 5, mm-hmm. but just at a different level. So that was a beautiful arc. And then having the opportunity to be a school principal, I think rounded out my own education as mm-hmm. an educator. Mm-hmm. And then, of course, I think midlife is often a time of change, particularly for women, and as it was for me, and I know for a lot of women, divorce was part of that, and I was the instigator of that, only because I'd been trying so hard to keep the marriage good, right. Healthy. Mm-hmm. Nothing was working. I'd been trying for a long time, and I had got to the end of my tether and thought, I can't do this anymore. Right. So, yeah, and that was difficult because, again, I was going against the cultural norms, the cultural norms of my faith group and my family. No one else in my family is divorced, or in my friendship group, and, of course, in my church, people weren't divorced. So I was really stepping into something very new. And I used to describe myself just like a little frog on a pond, just hopping from one rock to the next, even when I couldn't see the other side of the pond. But I found that a helpful metaphor, because all I really needed to see was the next rock. Mm-hmm. When we're in times of trial and change, just being able to see the next step is really helpful. It took me about 8 years after I retrained with the Salvation Army to actually understand that what had been happening in my marriage, I'd seen it as dysfunctional, but there was actually abuse going on. There was emotional abuse and neglect, and I had to come to terms with the fact that I was a victim of domestic abuse. No shouting, no hitting or any of those things, but the wounds were as deep, are probably sometimes deeper, because you can't see them. It takes longer for them to heal. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So exactly. I took all of those, all the skills as a teacher, and then poured them into my work with the Salvation Army. So I led a church, giving a a little sermon, a message, 20-minute sermon every Sunday, developing and honing my speaking skills, which of course now stands me in good stead as a professional speaker. So nothing is wasted, and we build and we build and we build. And one of the things I love about getting older is we have a longer period of life to look back on. We can connect the dots more easily, and we can see what our life is about.
Exactly. And yeah, I love what you were talking about earlier about looking here recently just at your childhood and understanding even then that you didn't understand how to put it together then, but realizing that at that moment, that was the first thing that really put you at notice of, women aren't leaders. Why are we not seeing enough of what I look like standing, as a leader versus just seeing, and nothing wrong with being teachers, obviously, but, women have always been known to be either a teacher at, during certain time frames, or either you had to be a nurse or you had to be some other type of administrative type position, but we were never really considered leaders. And so when you start to, like you said, have all these years to really start to go back and look and understand and recognize that we have.
Hey guys, it is Ryan. I'm not sure if you know this about me, but I'm a bit of a fun fanatic when I can. I like to work, but I like fun too. And now I can tell you about my favorite place to have fun. Chumba Casino. They have hundreds of social casino style games to choose from with new games released each week. You can play for free and each day brings a new chance to collect daily bonuses. So join me in the fun. Sign up now at ChumbaCasino.com.
Sponsored by Chumba Casino. No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 18 plus. Terms and conditions apply.
Recently, a new client called me and started by saying, "Mr. Morgan, I really need your help, but I'm just a nobody." Those words stunned me, and I immediately called him back, and we're now helping him and his family after a terrible accident. I'm John Morgan of Morgan & Morgan. Everybody who comes to our firm at their time of need is a somebody. I grew up poor, but my grandmother was like a queen to us. At Morgan & Morgan, our goal is to level the playing field for you and your family at your time of need. The insurance company has unlimited money and resources. You need a firm who can fight them toe-to-toe. For right at 30 years, we have fought them in courtrooms throughout America. Our results speak for themselves. And always remember this, everybody is a somebody, and nobody is a nobody. Visit forthepeople.com to learn about our firm. Morgan & Morgan, for the people.
Injured? Visit forthepeople.com for an office near you.
Always been in the forefront, but never been told that we should be in the forefront.
Absolutely.
Always, kind of hiding in the back. And even to this day, there are some people who still cannot, or let's just say up front that there are some women who still cannot understand the value that women can truly bring to the table and are continually to bring to the table. But it's taken us years. And I think that's the sadder part about it. And sometimes the harder part to have to recognize how many years it's taken for us to truly value ourselves. And that's a big point of what you teach other women as you have learned throughout the years of teaching yourself. And then, of course, our own personal experiences are always an important factor of how we start to really open up our eyes. And, I do truly understand and can connect with you on domestic abuse. My domestic abuse was a much harsher way. So it was both the physical and the emotional. But then, taking that really also gave me an opportunity to just look at myself and realize that, oh my gosh, how did I get here? Why do we get to these points? What is it that we're holding ourselves back? And 90% of that time, it's always about women having to be standing to the side or standing to the back or standing, on the opposite side, but never standing forward. And then finally we make a choice. And that's what you've done is you've made a choice. And I love your story because, like you said, every skill set that you have provided and have learned, here you are. Now you're, like I said, teaching, you're in the forefront, doing these talks, making women understand that no matter what they're doing, they can do it themselves and they can be powerful and be okay about it. So let's dive a little bit forward into, you said you had started doing the 20-minute talk. So let's talk a little bit more about that journey and how you continue to get to today.
Yeah. I think I've always had the gift of the gab. I can remember, again, going back to when I was 8, my mother said she was going to get a recording made that said, "Bronwyn, be quiet." So obviously, I've always had this opportunity. However, as funny as that is, the other thing I realised about that was, and I don't think my mother meant it intentionally, that was a way of silencing me. Bronwyn, you have to keep your voice silent. And again, that just fed into just the whole narrative, that women need to be silent in church, women are not allowed to teach men. All of the things that I was raised with, and my mother particularly was raised with, that we absorb and take into ourselves, and what I then call the drivers, or someone else has described it as an unconscious checklist, or our unconscious biases that shape the way that we behave and the decisions that we make. But yes, certainly being in a small church, having to be in front of people every week and constructing a well-constructed message, because, whether I'm preaching from the Bible or speaking out of my experience and education, doesn't matter what the content is, it has to be well-constructed. There has to be, the beginning, the middle, the end.
That's right.
There has to be a reason. You have to answer the so what question. And that was one, when I was doing my training with the Salvation Army, that was probably one of the most significant pieces of advice that I was given, is you've got to be able to answer the so what question when you are giving a message of any kind. So whether you're doing a keynote speech to 1,000 people and being paid a lot of money, or you're delivering a board speech, or you're just giving a presentation in your team in the office, make sure that it's constructed well and the people go away and go, I know why I had to hear that. And so that was probably the most important thing that I learned. And in the last 7 years, I've been working with different people, but most significantly with wonderful woman Jacqueline Nagel from Queensland, around building keynote speeches, constructing them, getting clear on my message. And that, when you get clear on the message that you want to bring in a keynote speech, you get clear on your message that you want to bring all the time, because it becomes part of who you are.
Exactly. Because, there's nothing worse than getting up and you're just rambling. You're trying to get the message out, but it becomes a ramble. And then I like when you were talking about how you said your mother kind of set the tone of, hey, I'm going to put you on recording, but this is basically just to keep you quiet. Well, I don't know if you remember hearing, we have a saying here that's saying that kids are to be seen but never heard. And, we've heard that for many, many years growing up through our lives, that, you didn't have an opinion. You didn't have a right to have an opinion, and it didn't matter, and even though you were probably right 90% of the time, we just were not supposed to say what we had to say. You just left it alone. And then that does carry with you for many years until you do learn how to find your voice. And then, like you said, when you do find that voice, it's figuring out, okay, I got it now. I'm putting it out here. How do I construct it? And now here you have this amazing voice that's always been there. And like you said, you're continuing to improve and help other women find their voice, but not just in the fact of speaking, but also in the fact that you're helping them find their voice of, it's okay to want to elevate themselves and elevating themselves in ways that we continue. And the sad part, we are constantly struggling to hit that glass ceiling. It's still, no matter what we can prove, no matter where we're at in our lives and all the accomplishments, we still can't get paid the same amount equally. We still got to fight for every little thing that we're doing.
Absolutely.
It's it's constant frustration, but yet still we keep thriving. So how do you work with your women when they come to you and they're at that bottom? They're sick and tired. They know they're good at what they do. They have a voice, but they need more. How do you get them out of that slump that they're in so that they can elevate?
Yeah. One of the key things I help women see is they can be leaders anywhere. They do not need to have positional authority. Like, it's great. We need to see more women, and I mean women across the board.
Looking for excitement? Chumba Casino is here. Play anytime, play anywhere. Play on the train, play at the store, play at home, play when you're bored. Play today for your chance to win and get daily bonuses when you log in. So what are you waiting for? Don't delay. Chumba Casino is free to play.
Experience social gameplay like never before. Go to Chumba Casino right now to play hundreds of games, including online slots, bingo, Slingo, and more. Live the Chumba life at ChumbaCasino.com.
VGW Group. No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. See terms and conditions. 18+.
Recently, a new client called me and started by saying, Mr. Morgan, I really need your help, but I'm just a nobody. Those words stunned me, and I immediately called him back, and we're now helping him and his family after a terrible accident. I'm John Morgan of Morgan & Morgan. Everybody who comes to our firm at their time of need is a somebody. I grew up poor, but my grandmother was like a queen to us. At Morgan & Morgan, our goal is to level the playing field for you and your family at your time of need. The insurance company has unlimited money and resources. You need a firm who can fight them toe-to-toe. For right at 30 years, we have fought them in courtrooms throughout America. Our results speak for themselves. And always remember this, everybody is a somebody, and nobody is a nobody. Visit forthepeople.com to learn about our firm. Morgan & Morgan, for the people.
Injured? Visit forthepeople.com for an office near you.
White, black, Indian, Asian, disabled, gay, straight, trans, cis, we need women, period, and all the versions of women that there are in actual leadership positions. And that's part of the striving and the fighting that you've been talking about, Kimberly. However, until that becomes much more normal than it is, I really encourage women to lead from where they are. And I call it leading from the back of the pack. Because that was something that I had to learn to do, particularly when I was on Nauru. I had a role of authority, but that role was not recognised. That position of authority was not recognised by the other bodies who were involved with keeping the asylum seekers in detention. And I had to learn to lead from where I was, to say I am still a leader. How can I lead when I'm not being recognised as a leader? And that's one of the things that I really work with women to do. So whether they want to, they've got to the point that you're talking about, Kimberly, where they're so frustrated, they're throwing their hands in the air and going,
Right.
And they decided, okay, I'm going to move out of my corporate or my employed situation. I'm going to start a business of my own. And so many women are doing that because that is the place. And that's certainly what I have seen for myself as I build my business, is you get to be the leader of your life and your business, and everything falls squarely on your shoulders, but you get to set the agenda and you set the pace. And obviously there are external factors by how much money you're earning. There's so many things out there that can stop or hinder us, but it's what's going on internally for all human beings, but I work with women. What's going on internally that I believe really determines your success, because we can't control whether people will buy our product or give us a promotion. Right. So we have to work at what are the leadership qualities that I have that I can bring to bear on whatever role I happen to be playing. And that's why I look at those three things, the things that drive us, the things that we need, and our values, because those are all internals. They're the things that we can control. They're the things that we can shape and that we can use to move ourselves forward, whether that's taking those steps up the positional authority ladder, in a workplace or in a corporate environment, or whether it's taking the shift out of that environment and building a business for yourself, whether that's a product-based business or a service-based business.
Right.
But we can take all of those three things, I believe, are essential for women as they grow in their power as they tap back into their power. And it's when we understand what it is that we need, because I'm sure it's the same in the USA as in Australia, women tend to put our own needs last, and often we lose sight of what do I actually need.
That's right.
We don't understand about our drivers. We don't understand the impact of our cultural heritage, whether that's faith or a particular type of cultural. Like I say, I grew up in the Christian subculture.
Mm-hmm.
That's a culture in itself. All of these things impact us and shape how we think about things. And it's not always helpful. Sometimes we have to revisit those ways of thinking and going, actually, that doesn't work anymore. So how do I reshape that? What really are my values? What are the things that I need?
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
What am I going to use to drive myself forward?
Exactly. And I think, and I like how the fact that, you're talking about that, even for those women who, they get to that frustration point, but what I see a lot of is that when women do get frustrated, like I said, they want to quit and everybody wants to start a job and wants to, start a business. That's great. But businesses are more than just a notion. And, the understanding that, like I said, everything is all on your shoulders. And then that means that responsibility is yours. And the other thing that, people seem to always forget is that those bills never stop coming. So when you no longer have
that.
It's like you don't have that consistency. You have to learn how to, like you said, lead and build from where you are. And when people start to realize that you can lead and build from where you are, then it makes it easier to make the shift over to where if you want to be in full-time business, then you have that better understanding. Because I think that a lot of people, like I said, they get so wrapped around their ankles about where they're at and what they're doing, not understanding that if you can't lead where you are, who's going to trust and believe that you can lead outside of that? What are your thoughts about that when you hear somebody say that?
As you said that, I'm going, that is amazing. Because that is so, so true. If you cannot lead from where you are, who will trust you to lead when you're outside of that? Because if you've moved into business, like I've been, most of my social work, like in socials, is on LinkedIn. That's the platform that I use. And I have been building that profile there for 7 years.
Mm-hmm.
You don't, because I, like you, like anybody else who's going, I'm going to build a business, people don't know you. They don't know your background. And in this day and age of misinformation, it's very easy to construct a profile, and we all know about the highlight reel, and it doesn't matter what social platform it's on. So to be consistently on, choose the platform where you think your audience is going to play, where you'll get the people that you want to work with. But you have to be there consistently so that people see you day after day and week after week and month after month, and they can look back and go, I can see what Bron did last year. I can see what she's doing today. Oh, look, it's the same. So that there's this consistency there, and that builds the trust, which is, what you have in a workplace. If you've been in a job for more than just a couple of months, people are starting to see, are you consistently being a good leader in whatever role that you happen to have? So it really doesn't matter whether you're in an employed situation or whether you're in business for yourself. People need to be able to see that you are consistently the same.
Exactly.
The word authentic gets bandied around a lot, but it's really just about consistency, so that, what you see is what you get, and what you get today, you'll get tomorrow, and is the same as you gave 3 weeks ago.
Well, exactly. I love that word, consistency. It seems to be a word that sometimes people don't think exists, because in today's world, it's not about consistency. It's about instantaneous. I need it now. I need it right now. I walk through the door and, I've got this a great example. Everybody, I got a degree. Okay, that's wonderful. So how many other people have a degree? What do you bring to the table besides saying I have a degree, and think that you have earned this spot.
Yes.
You have learned that you've been able to lean into this, and that you deserve to have whatever it is that you're asking. Those are the same thoughts and process, I believe, in my mind frame, that when you're in a job situation, it's the same attitude. If you're taking that same attitude and you're trying to roll over here to a business, I'm not going to want to deal with you if that's your attitude. It's like you said, that consistency. If you're showing a certain path that you're doing on one side and then you bring it over to the other, that is, if anything's going to hurt you more, simply because, what people need to remember, and they seem to forget, is that you depend on people to make you successful. If you don't have the people to provide those services to, or those products to, you will not have a business, right? So,
absolutely not. No.
Yeah, it's this constant thing that it's a balancing thing, and it's not a balancing act. It's reality. It's a reality that if you're not doing so well here, what do you need to do to bring yourself up to the level that you believe you are, or that you believe that you can provide to people? But how do we see that? How do we know? What is it that makes you stand out? And so then I guess it kind of rolls me right into the conversation about the financial side of it. You help women learn to value who they really are. Yeah. How do you do that? What is it that you provide to them or tell them to think about when we're talking about value? Because everybody believes that they're worth more. How does that work for you?
Yeah, look, I actually think it's really important that we believe that we're worth more than what maybe we're being paid at the moment, because that means that we will continue to strive forwards. However, there's always the inner critic that says, I'm too old, I'm too young, I'm too fat, I'm too, fill in the blanks. And I've had my own issues with that, particularly starting a business at age 60 with no background in business whatsoever. It's been a really steep learning curve for the last 7 years. And one of the things that I've had to address for myself is what I call my own ageist bias. At 60, I'm building a business. And as the eldest in my family, but my brother and sister, who are both younger than me, are moving into semi-retirement in their 60s, and I'm going, what are you doing? I'm too old to be doing this.
Right.
And I realised that thinking that is not helpful, because this is actually the time that I've got to do this. I didn't have the opportunities to do this before now. So, with the help of, again, my good friend Jacqueline Navel, she introduced me to the Clarity by Comparison tool, where you put on one side all the stuff your inner critic's saying, and then on the other side you put, well, what are the things that you want to say? And then you say those things to yourself and cross out the others. And so I flipped the I'm too old to be doing this to I'm just the right age to be doing this. So now I look at that's exactly, because that is actually the reality. As I said before, I didn't have the opportunity to do this before now. So I am just the right age for Bron Williams to be building her business. And I keep thinking, what else am I going to do with this last third of my life? I don't want to sit in a rocking chair and knit socks. Thanks very much.
Right. Exactly. Yeah, that was the used to be, attitude, is that once you hit a certain age that we're just supposed to rock ourselves away. But the thing that that also comes with that is, with the age is wonderful, but it's the knowledge. Like you were saying earlier, all the things that you have done, the skills that you have learned, you've brought them into a point, that, hey, you don't have to start over, because you have all the tools in your toolbox, and now you're sharing those tools with the world. You're giving the women the same type of understanding. And I think that's the thing that what I was trying to refer to earlier, is that a lot of people don't understand that it's not about how quickly you do it. It's about how effective it is, the quality that you're bringing. And that's exactly what you're done. That even though it's 60, it's like, hey, it's not the end of the world. We're not ready to go. God says it's not time for us to go either. So we're here.
Absolutely. Yes.
And then to be able to do it at the time that you want, and have that opportunity to know that you can do it without having to feel like, oh my gosh, if I don't get back out here and, and get a paycheck, a regular job, I'm not going to make it. I think that's a lot of the things that people don't always think about, that because today things seem to be easier. And when I refer to that in that perspective of you have the social media aspect. It's all those
Yes.
things that can pull you up a little bit quicker. Where back in the day, the way we started out and things that we were doing, you literally were standing in front of people and you was gonna make it or not. So it was make a break
Yes.
right on the spot, and it's like, okay, I didn't do so well today, but at the same time, it did teach you a certain value about yourself, and I think helped in some ways push us along a lot differently to where here now we do have the social media aspect that we have been able to take all the things, like we said, what we've learned throughout the years, and now we can implement it in so many different ways. And so what the business that you're doing with the women now, are you globally as well, or do you just work with women who are in Australia?
Step into the world of power, loyalty, and luck.
I'm gonna make him an offer he can't refuse.
With family, cannolis, and spins mean everything.
Now, you wanna get mixed up in the family business.
Introducing The Godfather at ChumbaCasino.com. Test your luck in the shadowy world of The Godfather slot.
Someday, I will call upon you to do a service for me.
Play The Godfather now at ChumbaCasino.com.
Welcome to the family.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 18+. Terms and conditions apply.
Recently, a new client called me and started by saying, Mr. Morgan, I really need your help, but I'm just a nobody. Those words stunned me, and I immediately called him back, and we're now helping him and his family after a terrible accident. I'm John Morgan of Morgan & Morgan. Everybody who comes to our firm at their time of need is a somebody. I grew up poor, but my grandmother was like a queen to us. At Morgan & Morgan, our goal is to level the playing field for you and your family at your time of need. The insurance company has unlimited money and resources. You need a firm who can fight them toe-to-toe. For right at 30 years, we have fought them in courtrooms throughout America. Our results speak for themselves. And always remember this, everybody is a somebody, and nobody is a nobody. Visit forthepeople.com to learn about our firm. Morgan & Morgan, for the people.
Injured? Visit forthepeople.com for an office near you.
No, it's definitely global. With particularly with the all the advances that COVID actually brought to the forefront of being able to speak globally. Well, at the moment, I run that. One of the things I do run is roundtable group mentoring, and we're straddling 3 different time zones, so Asia,
Right.
Australia, and the US. So yes, yeah. Thank goodness for Zoom.
Oh, I know. I was, it's like, obviously now, it's daytime there, it's nighttime here. So it's like, oh boy, thank goodness.
But you just work with it.
Yes, exactly.
Yep, you work with it. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But thank goodness for virtual reality, right? Because, those old days, we didn't
Absolutely.
have those opportunities to be able to transcend across globally and communicate with people in such an effective way. So, Bron, I mean, you and I could continue to talk forever. We're definitely getting close to the end here. But before we go, I really want to know, if there's anything you really like to share, and what thoughts would you give to someone, a woman, of course, but if anybody is listening to this, what thoughts would you give to them about starting a business?
I love to be able to share something that was shared with me when I was a new mum, trying to decide how was I going to fit this baby into my life, or was I'm going to let this baby be the centre of my life. I didn't know what I wanted to do. And a very dear friend said to me, start out how you mean to continue, which for me meant I continued to go and do the things that I wanted to do. And my baby came with me, and of course became a very easygoing baby, and was able to fit around my schedule. So that's actually my biggest piece of advice to women starting out in a business, is start out how you mean to continue. Now, for me, that meant that within 4 months of my starting my business, I took the opportunity to fly to the USA, being as part of a big coaching group, and I spoke on stage in Los Angeles. Now, that's because that's what I wanted. I wanted to be a global speaker. So I started out where I wanted to. Now, that doesn't mean that just because you do that once that, everything's going to come flooding in, but it set the tone for me about what sort of business do I want to have? Do I just want to work in Australia, or do I want to work globally? And I'd always had a big picture, big dreams of what I wanted to do with my speaking career. And out of, that adventure, I've met people from around the globe who I continue to work with to this day, who are colleagues. So that's a wonderful thing. So would be my biggest advice. Decide, in a sense, where do you want to end up? Exactly. And use that as your North Star.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
And I like that you've asked me that question, because it's good for me to remind myself of where do I want to go? Right. Because we can lose sight of it in the nitty-gritty of business every day. Mm-hmm. We have, with all the minutiae of business, we can lose sight of the big picture, and we need to take a step back every so often and go, actually, this is what I'm building to.
Exactly. Yeah. Because, when you start to lose that sight, then it affects everything that you do, not just professionally, but personally. And so, like I said, if you're not dreaming big, then what's the purpose? You can just go ahead and sit down and knit. But we're not ready for all that. So,
absolutely.
Definitely, enjoy your life and continue helping other women. But also tell us, if you have any new programs, or if you're going to be with somewhere speaking, if you have, and also please share your social media with everybody so we can reach out to you.
Excellent. Yeah, look, the best way to find me, as I usually say, is stalk me on LinkedIn. I'm Bron Williams there, and my website is bronwilliams.com. So no AU, just .com. Again, because I set the tone, I want to be a global business. I don't just want to be identifying with Australia. My the best email is info@bronwilliams.com, keeping it nice and consistent. And the next mentoring group that I'm putting together for women, and again, it's global, it's Roundtable Mentoring, and it starts in September. So I will be putting some information out on socials probably in the next month or so. But if any of your listeners are are what I call on the cusp, they're ready to make some changes, but they don't necessarily know how to go about it, that they're the women that I want to work with, who are just ready to change.
Exactly. All right. Well, we will definitely be looking forward to that in September. And of course, I will make sure all the information we have to get connected with you will be in the show notes. So for those who are trying to figure out, well, how do we even spell Bron? Don't worry. We'll have that all available for you. It's very simple. Bron.
That's right.
Because I just love your name. I'm like, oh my God, that's a beautiful name. It's very unique. So it definitely stands out. Like I said, it's easy to find. So for all of those who are listening tonight, they are going to have some great information. Like I said, it'll all be in the show notes. And Bron, again, I really do appreciate you coming on and hanging out with me tonight, before you start your day. It's been special, and I just love communicating with you. Like I said, I could talk to you for hours because, love it when we're on the same wavelength, and, everybody has understanding of what we're trying to do. And that's really what this show is all about, is learning about who we are, the good, bad, and ugly that comes with that. But at the same time, it's opportunity to be heard. And so again, I thank you for coming on and hanging out with me today. It's been an absolute pleasure and a wonderful way to start my day. All righty. You will again. You have a wonderful day. And again, like I said, thank you. And I hope to talk to you again soon in the future. It'd be great. Thanks, Kimberly. You're welcome. All right, everybody. Oh, I hope you enjoyed this evening's show. It was a great one. I love Bron. I love her story. And of course, the main thing is really, truly about connecting with your own power. This is what Bron talks about. This is what her voice is about. Teaching women truly how to connect and understand that there's so much more to yourself that you even understand or even really think about some days. And if you really want to take that leap, Bron will help you get to take that leap. And of course, we can also help you here. So it always leads me to ask you, are you prepared? Are you ready to talk about your dreams? You want to turn those dreams to actual goals? You can reach out to me anytime at Kimberly at WSBILC@gmail.com, and let's have that chat. And of course, if you want more of your resource for success, please reach out to us. We are taking monetary donations to support the podcast. We are now accepting on Cash App, PayPal, Good Pods tip jar, and of course you can go directly to the website at www.wsbilc.com. And I also want to remind you that if you don't already know, I also want to thank Listen Notes for letting everybody know that we are at the top 10% globally at Your Resource for Success podcast. So hear me, we have a great podcast show. We have great guests every week. We're going to be expanding on this podcast show, doing some other great things. But if you want to be a part of it, you have a story you want to tell, you need to reach out to me. If you have a voice that you want to be heard, you have also another story you want to tell through whether it's making a podcast or writing a book, I'm your girl. So again, I hope you all enjoyed this evening. I will see you all soon. Like I said, I'd like to thank you all for listening to us tonight. I'd like to again thank Bron. I will be back next week with more amazing guests. Be sure to follow us on iHeartRadio or wherever you listen to your podcasts. But until then, enjoy the rest of the evening and good night.
Good night, everyone. We will be back next Thursday evening at 7 p.m. Follow us on Spreaker, www.spreaker.com/user/WSBI. View our new WSBI website anytime at www.wsbillc.com and on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, LinkedIn, and Instagram.
Every day when you log into ChumbaCasino.com, the ultimate online social casino, you get a free daily bonus. Imagine if you got daily bonuses in other parts of your life.
I chose French fries over loaded French fries.
I asked Stuart from accounting about his weekend, even though I don't care.
I updated my operating system without having to call tech support.
Collect your free daily bonus at ChumbaCasino.com now. And live the Chumba life.
VGW Group. No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. See terms and conditions. 18+.
People are driven by the search for better. But when it comes to hiring, the best way to search for a candidate isn't to search at all. Don't search, match with Indeed. The hiring process can be slow and overwhelming. Simplify hiring with Indeed. Indeed is your matching and hiring platform. With over 350 million global monthly visitors according to Indeed data, and a matching engine that helps you find quality candidates fast. Ditch the busy work. Use Indeed for scheduling, screening, and messaging so you can connect with candidates faster. Join more than 3.5 million businesses worldwide that use Indeed to hire great talent fast. Listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/PODKATZ13. That's Indeed.com/PODKATZ13. Terms and conditions apply.